Hey everybody, Derek here to bring another video for The Walking Dead Season 5. And this video is going to be a review for tonight's episode, which was Remember. Definitely a great episode overall. I'm definitely excited to talk about this one. And just like Andrew Lincoln, I did get rid of my inferior Rick Grimes beard. I kept a goatee, but thought I'd follow suit with Andrew Lincoln on that. And I'm definitely very excited to talk about tonight's episode. So just a forewarning, if you guys have not seen tonight's episode, this will be a spoiler video, basically detailing everything that has happened. So, spoiler warning in case you have not seen this episode. Okay, so the group arrives at the Alexandria safe zone and are basically told to turn their weapons over. Mostly was similar to the sneak peek, but we get to meet several people inside of the community, and the first one is Deanna. Now, just like Abraham said, "Who's Deanna?" Well, Deanna is apparently the comic book counterpart to Douglas Monroe from the comics. In the comic books, the Alexandria community, is run by a man named Douglas. They've switched that up a little bit here. Instead, it's a woman named Deanna, who is similar to Douglas's story as a congresswoman who basically came to the community and helped to establish it. A lot of definite comparisons between the two, because Deanna had a husband named Reggie, and in the comics, Douglas has a wife named Regina. Now, I think Reggie's dead, though, in the TV show. But, I definitely thought that it was a very interesting way that Deanna got to know people. She was videotaping them, seeing what they said, and I really thought that the banter between her and Rick was definitely very telling. One thing that you started to realize was, I think that when they were talking to each other, they were really trying to feel each other out, and it was really more about, who was going to come out with the better advantage in that conversation. Because I think that Deanna was basically trying to assess who Rick was, and Rick was kind of, in my opinion, kind of hinting at the kind of people that he is and his group are, and who's out there. And I love that line that he said to Deanna, where he was like, "You shouldn't let anybody else in here, because out there it's kill or be killed. People assess you for what you can give or what you can't, and they may kill you or steal from you." And I thought that, wow, that was really putting on like a very honest assessment of what Rick's group is looking at when it comes to the Alexandria safe zone, or at least one of the things that they look at. I'll get to that later on in the review as I go along the episode review. But basically, everybody turns the weapons over, and they get to go into the houses, and they all decide to bunk up in one house just to be on the safe side. And everybody, was experiencing the community in a different way. Rick did shave his beard, finally starting to see, this was the first time he had really seen himself clean shaven ever since, sometime in season 2, probably, was the last time. And, I think that it was definitely, in a way, almost like shedding a part of that wild self and being able to acclimate into this new community. And I think you saw that with a lot of people. A lot of people, when they got to shower, get a good change of clothes, they really became different people. In some respects, they still retain some of that their old selves. But I think that really Rick was definitely readjusting to being more of a normal person in that moment. And you saw a lot of that with a lot of the other group members. Michonne's definitely very happy being there. I think that in time, Glenn and Maggie will start to show their positive feedback from the community. I think that it's definitely something that they needed. Of course, not everybody is taking this as well as you'd hoped. In particular, Daryl in this episode. And it appears that Sasha in the next episode is also going to be experiencing some negativity maybe about the community, or maybe she's still dealing with Bob and Tyrese's deaths. But um, one thing you noticed about Daryl was, he didn't even shower. I thought it was definitely very interesting. He didn't change his clothes, he didn't shower, hasn't gotten a haircut or anything like that. He's really stayed the same person that he was outside. Whereas everybody else, did something to kind of, at least everybody bathed as far as I know. I think he's really the only one that's retained that old, um, look. And I think that, there's a lot of reasons behind that. I've been trying to figure it out. I've been trying to think about it. And I think that part of it comes down to Daryl not feeling comfortable going into this community. I think it's also bringing back a lot of things that he used to feel before the zombie apocalypse. We definitely know about Daryl's past, and how he didn't really fit in with people. People perceived him as being different, and most of the time he hung out with Merle or somebody who we unfortunately may consider as degenerates in society. That's mostly who Daryl hung out with, and I think that from the moment that he stepped into the gates of the community and he's starting to look around at people, I think that in many ways he thinks that they see him as that kind of person. And that's the thing, they see that in Rick's group in general. People are looking at them like, oh, are they good people? Are they not? Are they safe? And you saw different receptions from everybody in the community. I mean, you have people like Deanna's son, Aiden, which is another change from the comics. Aiden is the son of Deanna. In the comics, Douglas had a son named Spencer with Regina as well. And you saw, Aiden and Nicholas, who is a comic book character taken directly from the comics, and his son Mikey. Nicholas and Aiden were a little more hesitant about who these people were, and they were very concerned. And when the group members didn't do what they wanted to do, they got angry. And of course, wanted to, assert their, hey, this is our community, and we do things the way that we do, and if you don't like it, screw you. Was kind of their attitude with that scene with the walker that, Aiden and Nicholas were playing around with. They wanted to, tie it up because it was kind of like what the Woodbury soldiers were doing, when they took walkers and were like hanging them up in the trees and things like that. For them, it's a way to blow off steam. But of course, what they don't realize is that the walkers are very dangerous when you're not, familiar with them. And I don't know exactly how much familiarity they have with them, but walkers are not something to play with. And Rick's group has pretty much understood that. You don't want to be playing around with walkers. I mean, Michonne found a method that worked, but what they were doing was potentially going to get somebody killed, and Tara almost died tonight because of that. So, I think that you saw where people like Aiden and Nicholas just, I think if they felt like Rick's group was kind of like stepping on their turf, it's like, hey, we've done things the way that we wanted to, and we ran this place, and we're doing things the way we want to, and it's worked. Hey, who are you to come in here and tell me? And, I think that afterwards where Glenn, punched Aiden, and there was that fight where Daryl almost, strangled, I think it was Nicholas, I think, because it was both of them involved. He almost strangled them to death. I think that, Deanna basically saying, okay, everybody break it up. But in many ways, she took both sides, I think. I think she's going to talk with Aiden and Nicholas later. And I don't know if we're going to see that conversation, but I think that in some ways it's a little bit of, hey, you need to try to work together with Rick's group because we need them, versus, hey, you were being a jerk and you almost got people killed. And I think that, Deanna realizes that about her son Aiden, is that he can be a little hot-headed, and that could potentially come back to bite people or hurt people. In the comics, Spencer is kind of the same way. He's a little bit reckless. He is kind of like a possessive kind of person, or he wants things the way that he wants them. And he liked Andrea in the comics, and he wanted her, and when he couldn't have her, it was something that really bothered him. So I think that we're going to see a lot of parallels between those two characters. And it'll definitely be interesting to see how that dynamic works later on. But I think that Deanna is really trying to play, you know, I don't want to say both sides, but I think that she's really trying her best at this point to make Rick feel comfortable. All signs point to Deanna being a good person right now who really is trying to, make a great community. And, we'll have to see down the road if she has ill intentions or not. But I think that she really wants to have a good community. And I think that she's like a politician in many respects. That's what she is. But I think that, sometimes you have to do your best to please everybody, or you're not going to please anybody, or you have to pick and choose who you're going to please or what you're going to please with. Like, are you going to make this side happy about this and this side happy about something else? And that was kind of what it was, I think. I think she knows how to speak with Rick's group, but she also knows how to handle her son and the people in the community. And she wants this group, I think, to come together in order to make a more peaceful community, as well as one that is safe for everybody and that can flourish. I think that she does want that. There's definitely a lot. I mean, I'm trying not to make this too long, but there was a lot going on here. We get introduced to several new child characters. Mikey, Ron, who is a comic book character, as well as Mikey. And then I think the girl's name was Enid, who she was somebody who was on the outside, whereas the other kids were already in there. And I thought it was very interesting, to see Carl kind of as trying to associate with these kids, because you see just how different their experiences are. These kids have been in safety, whereas Carl's been out there, surviving day in and day out, trying to be tough. And I think that Enid and Carl, in many ways, understand each other better than what Mikey and Ron would, because they never really had to deal with those things outside the walls. And I think it'll be interesting to see how they either get along or don't get along. And I can't wait for Enid's character to be explored a little more. She's not a comic book character. She's somebody different. And I think that it would be nice to, expose Carl to some kind of a love interest. I think it's possible. I don't think it'll happen this season, but I think we should explore their relationship a little bit, and I can't wait to see next week what they have to offer there. And of course, Rick is making some friends as well, and others not so much. Rick met Jesse Anderson, which is a comic book character. Jesse cut his hair, basically, talked with Rick, wanted to get him to meet up with Ron and Sam. So in the comics, she only has one son, but in the TV show, the Andersons have two children, and I believe the other one's name was Sam. So it'll be interesting to meet him as well, see how he relates into the story. And you can definitely see the similarities between Rick and Jesse. And of course, big comic book spoilers, the two do end up getting into a relationship. And I think that it's very likely that this will happen in the TV show as well. A lot of signs are pointing to that. But we also have Pete Anderson, who we didn't really actually get to see face to face. His face was kind of obscured in the darkness. He was outside smoking a cigarette, and he was like, "Hey Rick, so my wife cut your hair, huh?" Rick's like, "Yeah." It was definitely a very creepy scene. You could just tell right away, this guy's trouble. You don't even need to think about it for another second. This guy's going to be trouble for Rick. And whether he's abusive to his kids and Jesse like he is in the comics or not, we don't know yet. Ron, I don't think Ron had any marks on him, but I'm definitely interested to see what really Pete Anderson is about, because I don't think it's good news, and I'm definitely thinking that there's going to be some tension later on down the road. And the other big thing that I also want to touch on is the gun was gone from the blender when Rick hid it. He went out there to go retrieve it. Whether that was for his own protection inside the community, or whether it was to dispatch the walkers, I don't really know. but he went there to get it and it wasn't there. And Carl came outside. One of the memes for tonight was, Rick and Carl, father son bonding Walker kills. Definitely was a good moment for the two of them, working together, killing walkers. And I think that, what I found amazing was when Carl was like, "Here, Dad, let me take out the last one," and how Rick handed that over. And I think that what it came down to was, Carl and several other people saying, "We don't want to get weak." And I think that that was Rick basically saying, "Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. We don't want to see you get weak. Here, Carl, this is so you can continue to stay strong and remember what's going on." So that was definitely great. And another thing I really want to touch on quick is Carol. I really loved how Carol became a totally different person when she walked into the walls. Like how she was acting with Daryl, the smile on her face, how she was working in the kitchen. You really see like a big change in her. Now, the question that I have and that I might assess in a video later on this week, is she really changing, or is she just putting on a front so that way if, something does happen, she can either report to Rick or she can be ready to take action. I'm very interested to see about that because I was just amazed at how she was, but I also thought there was something about it that was a little weird, that Carol was acting different. So I'm going to think on that and maybe do a video, but I really thought that was really great on Melissa McBride's part, and I really, really can't wait to see what they're going to do with Carol in the last part of this season. And finally, just, another remark, about Rick at the end when he was saying that, well, if these people don't want to work with us or it won't work out, then we're just going to take the community from them. Was a comic book moment. And I think that what it comes down to is, the group is already starting to notice that the two sides are different, and that's just what it comes down to. Some of them have been in the community for a while. They feel like it's theirs, and if people are coming into it and messing it up, they're going to get upset. But Rick's group is also thinking, well, we've been out on the road for so long, and things have been so hard for us that we don't want to go back out there, and we don't want to have to, potentially lose what we've just earned. So I think that what they're saying is that, there's two sides to what's going on here. There's the people who want to preserve Alexandria for themselves, and there's Rick's group who doesn't want to lose this, but they kind of don't want to let other people run it in the incorrect way that could potentially get them killed. So I think in the next 4 episodes, what we're really going to see is how these two sides either come together or splinter apart, because one or the other is going to happen at some point, and I think that we might even see like the groups splinter apart and come together, and I can't wait to see what results from that, because I think that there's a lot going on right now, and I think that the next couple weeks are definitely going to be about, can these two groups come together and make a good community, or will they fail? And I'm interested to see. Great episode. They definitely made me feel a lot better about the Alexandria Safe Zone. The stories, I think it's going to be entertaining and good stories from here on out. I can't wait. So I'm going to bring this video to a close. I want to thank everybody for watching. If you guys have any questions or comments, do not be afraid to leave them. Feel free to subscribe. I do have more videos coming. And if there's any video topics that you want me to do, just let me know. Post them in the comments. Send me a message. I will do them. I'm going to be doing a video on Nicholas this week that was requested. Other videos I'll think up along the way. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and thank you very much.